The Ferrari team has detected a legal loophole in the FIA regulations that allows them to make modifications to Hamilton's car, enabling him to be 1.5 seconds faster than Max Verstappen's race pace during the Bahrain tests. Stay until the end, and I'll give you all the details. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Ferrari's headquarters in Maranello is no ordinary factory. It is a temple of speed, a fortress where the most brilliant minds in motorsport come together with a singular purpose: winning. But in 2025, it has become something even more: an underground war room where secrecy reigns, where access is granted only to those involved in the most radical Formula One project of the modern era. Behind locked doors, beyond biometric security checkpoints, a small group of engineers, aerodynamicists, and strategists are working on something that could shake the foundation of the sport itself. This is not just another development package. This is not just another upgrade. This is a calculated, borderline dangerous move, one that could make or break Ferrari's entire championship campaign. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. The timing could not be more critical. The world is counting the days until Lewis Hamilton's first official race in red, and while the 7-time world champion has already demonstrated glimpses of magic during pre-season testing, what is happening in the shadows could redefine his legacy. The prancing horse is preparing to unleash something that the rest of the grid will never see coming. At the center of it all is a loophole, one so subtle, so precise, that even the FIA's regulatory experts have overlooked it. Ferrari's executive team, led by Frédéric Vasseur, has played their hand masterfully, keeping the details buried beneath layers of secrecy, avoiding leaks, and ensuring that by the time their rivals realize what has happened, it will be far too late to react. The data is almost too good to be true. Ferrari's simulations indicate that Hamilton's race pace could be up to 1.5 seconds per lap faster than Red Bull's best efforts during Bahrain testing. That is not an advantage. That is total annihilation. To put it in perspective, across a full race distance at Albert Park, this gap would be so overwhelming that Verstappen, Norris, Russell, and anyone else who dares to challenge would be fighting for a distant second. It would be the kind of performance that could trigger protests, force emergency FIA meetings, and potentially even lead to mid-season regulation changes, something Ferrari is prepared for. Because this is not just about winning. This is about revenge. About rewriting history. About ending the drought that has haunted Ferrari since 2007. Inside the Maranello facility, the operation has been divided into layers of secrecy. At the heart of it is Project 44, a nod to Hamilton's famous number, a symbol of the team's ruthless commitment to ensuring that his debut season with Ferrari is nothing short of historic. The team members assigned to this project operate under strict orders. No documents leave the premises. No information is stored on external devices. Every test, every simulation, every modification is carried out in complete isolation from the rest of the factory. Engineers working on other areas of the car are unaware of the specifics. Even Ferrari's own employees do not fully grasp what is happening. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. At the core of this revolution is a concept so delicate that the slightest mistake could expose the entire operation. It involves a complex integration of aerodynamics, energy deployment, and mechanical balance, something that no other team has been able to replicate. While Red Bull has perfected the art of generating downforce through floor dynamics, Ferrari has taken a different path. They have found a way to manipulate airflow in a manner that allows for an unparalleled level of efficiency in high-speed corners without compromising straight-line speed. The secret lies in a reimagined cooling system that reroutes excess airflow through the side pods, subtly altering the car's center of pressure mid-corner. The result? A car that behaves as if it has two different aerodynamic configurations within a single lap, one optimized for acceleration and top speed, the other for high downforce stability. But that is just the beginning. The real weapon is in the power unit. Ferrari's hybrid system has undergone a radical transformation, one that takes full advantage of the FIA's new MGUK deployment regulations. Unlike previous seasons, where teams focused on optimizing energy recovery over a full lap, Ferrari's approach allows them to unleash an unparalleled power boost in specific zones. By timing their deployment with near-military precision, Hamilton's car will be able to generate acceleration bursts that other teams simply cannot match. In practical terms, this means that in a head-to-head battle with Verstappen or Norris, Hamilton will be able to exit corners with a velocity gain that renders DRS almost useless. Even if a Red Bull or McLaren closes the gap on a straight, the Ferrari's ability to deploy power out of slow-speed corners will reset the advantage every single time. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Ferrari strategists are already running simulations for the first 3 races, preparing scenarios where Hamilton and Charles Leclerc can utilize the system to maximum effect. The results are frightening. In Melbourne, Ferrari expects to have a 30-second race-winning margin if no safety cars interfere. In Jeddah, a circuit that heavily favors power efficiency, they believe Hamilton could lap the entire midfield. And in Suzuka, historically one of the most demanding circuits on aerodynamics, their projections suggest that Ferrari could pull a full second per lap on Red Bull through the SEs alone. But the bigger question is, how long can they keep this advantage? Once the other teams realize what is happening, there will be a reaction. Red Bull's Adrian Newey will dissect every frame of onboard footage, every aerodynamic detail visible on the Ferrari. Mercedes will push the FIA for clarifications. McLaren, already rumored to have an aggressive update package in the works, will double down on their own innovations. Protests will come. Ferrari knows this. But the beauty of their strategy lies in the timing. By the time the FIA catches up, they could already have an insurmountable lead in the championship. And if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that Formula One teams don't win titles by waiting for the rulebook to be rewritten. They win by exploiting it before anyone else does. Hamilton himself is fully aware of the magnitude of what is unfolding. He has been in countless debriefs, he has seen the simulations, he understands the opportunity that lies ahead. His demeanor in pre-season testing has been telling, calm, collected, almost smug. He knows something that the rest of the world doesn't. For years, he fought against the might of Red Bull, against Verstappen's rise, against the tide that threatened to push him out of title contention. Now, he has a chance to strike back in the most devastating way possible. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. And then, there is Charles Leclerc. The Monégasque, beloved by the Tifosi, is the heart and soul of Ferrari. He has suffered through the team's miscalculations, endured seasons where his talent far outweighed the car's capabilities. But now, for the first time in his career, he has machinery that can make him a world champion. The dynamic between Hamilton and Leclerc will be fascinating. Will they work together to secure Ferrari's first Constructors' Championship in years? Or will the battle for supremacy inside the team ignite tensions that could derail everything? As the final hours of preparation tick down before the Australian Grand Prix, the motorsport world remains blissfully unaware of what is coming. The media continues to focus on traditional narratives: Verstappen's dominance, McLaren's resurgence, Mercedes' search for redemption. No one is ready for what Ferrari is about to unleash. But when the lights go out in Melbourne, everything will change. The paddock will watch in disbelief. The radio messages will reveal the shock in the voices of rival engineers. The world will realize that Ferrari has done the unthinkable. Because this is not just another season. This is the season where Ferrari intends to reclaim its throne. The moment when Hamilton rewrites his legacy. The campaign that could redefine Formula One itself. And by the time anyone understands how it happened, it will already be too late. Ferrari's SF25 is more than just an evolution of its predecessors. It is a bold statement of intent, a meticulously engineered machine designed to exploit every legal loophole in the FIA's aerodynamic regulations while maintaining an unprecedented level of mechanical efficiency. The team's engineering ingenuity has manifested in 3 revolutionary areas: the rear diffuser, the dynamically adapting suspension geometry, and an avant-garde brake cooling system that doubles as an aerodynamic enhancement mechanism. Together, these elements create a car that doesn't just challenge Red Bull's dominance but threatens to redefine the pecking order of Formula One. At the heart of Ferrari's aerodynamic breakthrough is a subtle yet crucial reinterpretation of Article 3.7 of the FIA regulations, which governs how airflow can be manipulated by bodywork components. While other teams have adhered strictly to the conventional understanding of diffuser limitations, Ferrari's technical team has exploited a specific wording ambiguity that permits slight modifications to the lower rear diffuser edges. This allows them to generate additional rear downforce without compromising drag efficiency, a game-changer in an era where every team is struggling to maximize aerodynamic load while minimizing energy loss. The advantage is profound: higher mid-corner speeds, superior tire longevity, and unparalleled stability when pushing through long, fast sweeping corners. But Ferrari's innovations don't stop there. The ride height control system represents another masterstroke of technical ingenuity. Unlike Red Bull's hydraulic-based ride height adjustments, which were effectively neutralized by recent regulation changes, Ferrari's approach is entirely mechanical. Using a carefully designed system of torsion bars and passive dampers that respond dynamically to shifting mechanical loads, the SF25 achieves a level of balance and predictability that few thought possible under the current rule set. This allows the car to remain poised and planted through high-speed sections while gaining additional traction in slower, more technical corners. It's the best of both worlds, a setup that provides both high-speed aerodynamic efficiency and low-speed mechanical grip without breaking the FIA span on active suspension. Then there's the third key element, perhaps the most controversial yet brilliantly executed feature of the SF25, its brake cooling system, which Ferrari has ingeniously repurposed as an aerodynamic stabilizer. Traditional brake ducts serve a purely cooling function, ensuring that the immense heat generated under braking doesn't cause thermal degradation of key components. However, Ferrari has found a way to leverage the system's airflow redirection properties, channeling excess heat and pressure into specific zones of the underfloor, subtly influencing the car's overall balance and airflow consistency. By doing so, they have achieved a smoother aerodynamic flow across the entire length of the car, reducing turbulence and improving straight-line efficiency. This innovation has been extensively tested in Ferrari's state-of-the-art wind tunnel, where data has consistently shown that the system provides a net gain in aerodynamic efficiency while keeping the car well within regulatory limits. For Lewis Hamilton, this means an entirely different driving experience compared to what he endured at Mercedes. The SF25 allows him to push harder in every phase of the corner, braking later, carrying more speed through the apex, and accelerating earlier on corner exit. The improved aerodynamic stability ensures that he no longer has to wrestle the car mid-corner, a problem that plagued the W13 and W14, where unpredictable load shifts often forced him to make constant steering corrections. Now he can trust the car's balance implicitly, which allows for a more aggressive driving style, one that suits his natural instincts as a late breaker and high-speed specialist. Beyond the car's technical brilliance, Ferrari's strategic approach to the 2025 season has also undergone a significant transformation. The team has restructured its operations to prioritize efficiency in race execution, focusing on optimizing pit stop timing, tire strategy, and mid-race adaptability. One of the most critical weaknesses Ferrari has suffered in previous years has been their tendency to overcomplicate race strategy, leading to costly errors in high-pressure situations. Under the new leadership of an expanded strategy division led by former Red Bull and Mercedes strategists, Ferrari is aiming to eliminate the indecision that has cost them race victories in recent seasons. Additionally, Ferrari's power unit has seen a complete overhaul. While the previous PU was already one of the most powerful on the grid, issues with fuel consumption and thermal efficiency had created limitations in race trim. The new unit features an improved combustion cycle that allows for more consistent power delivery throughout a race stint, ensuring that Ferrari can extract maximum performance without sacrificing reliability. The cooling system has also been redesigned to prevent overheating in high degradation conditions, something that has historically affected Ferrari in extreme temperatures. But while Ferrari has clearly made giant strides forward, the battle at the top is far from one-sided. Red Bull, ever the masters of adaptation, have been closely monitoring Ferrari's developments and are rumored to be working on their own countermeasures. Adrian Newey's team, known for their relentless pursuit of aerodynamic perfection, has reportedly been testing a new rear-wing concept that could negate some of Ferrari's straight-line speed advantages. The RB21, while an evolution of its predecessor, features subtle but effective changes to its side pod and underfloor structure that could help offset the gains Ferrari has made. Meanwhile, Mercedes, still searching for a way back to the top, has adopted a more aggressive development approach than in previous seasons. The W15's chassis has been completely redesigned, moving away from the failed zero side pod concept that plagued them for 2 years. Now, with a more conventional design that aligns closely with Red Bull's championship-winning philosophy, Mercedes hopes to regain competitiveness. However, early reports suggest that while the car has improved significantly in terms of balance and drivability, it may still lack the outright downforce levels of Ferrari and Red Bull. McLaren, too, cannot be ignored. The team's remarkable resurgence in the second half of the 2024 season has given them momentum heading into 2025, and their new car, the MCL38, has been developed with a focus on enhanced aerodynamic efficiency and improved tire management. Lando Norris, now entering his peak years, is determined to break into the championship fight, and his early feedback suggests that McLaren may be closer to the front than some expect. As the season opener in Bahrain approaches, the Formula One world finds itself on the cusp of a battle that could redefine the sport's competitive landscape. Ferrari, once the perennial underdogs, now stand as genuine contenders, armed with a machine that has the potential to dethrone Red Bull's supremacy. But Verstappen, the undisputed king of the grid, won't relinquish his crown without a fight. With Mercedes and McLaren also lurking in the shadows, the stage is set for a season unlike any other, one where every millisecond counts, where every strategic decision could make the difference between glory and heartbreak. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Ferrari's technical ingenuity be enough to end their championship drought? Can Red Bull find new ways to stay ahead of the curve? Will Mercedes finally return to the top, or will McLaren spring a surprise? In Formula One, the margins are razor-thin, and the difference between victory and defeat often comes down to the finest of details. One thing is certain: 2025 is shaping up to be a season of historic proportions. The battle lines have been drawn. The cars are ready. The drivers are prepared. And in a few weeks, when the lights go out in Bahrain, all the speculation, all the analysis, all the preparation will be put to the ultimate test. The fight for supremacy is about to begin, and in the ruthless world of Formula One, there is no room for weakness. Only the fastest, the smartest, and the most relentless will emerge victorious. Ferrari has left nothing to chance in their relentless pursuit of supremacy, meticulously refining every aspect of the SF25 to ensure it becomes the defining car of the 2025 Formula One season. The final piece of this intricate puzzle lies in a groundbreaking innovation: a newly designed brake cooling duct that serves not just its traditional function of regulating brake temperatures, but also plays a crucial role in optimizing airflow over the rear end. The genius of this design is its dual-purpose nature. It doesn't merely prevent overheating, but actively improves aerodynamic stability, especially in turbulent air. This means that in race conditions, where following another car typically leads to a severe loss of downforce and compromised grip, Hamilton will have a significant advantage. The SF25 will allow him to stay glued to the rear wing of his rivals without suffering from the usual instability that plagues cars caught in dirty air. This innovation could prove to be Ferrari's ace in the hole, providing an edge that is nearly impossible for competitors to counter once the season begins. Ferrari has invested an immense amount of resources into perfecting this concept, conducting extensive testing both in their cutting-edge wind tunnel and in simulations designed to mimic real-world racing conditions as closely as possible. Every data point that has emerged from these tests tells the same story. The SF25 is not just a step forward, it's a quantum leap in performance. The car isn't only faster over a single lap, but it's more predictable, more balanced, and crucially, far more consistent over a full Grand Prix distance. The internal analysis conducted by Ferrari's engineering team has left little room for doubt. Their calculations indicate that in Hamilton's hands, the SF25 will be the most dominant machine on the grid when the lights go out in Melbourne. This is no longer a question of whether Ferrari can challenge for wins, it's a question of whether anyone will be able to stop them. But here's where things take an even more fascinating turn. While the FIA rigorously regulates in-season developments to ensure teams don't gain an unfair advantage, pre-season testing operates under a different set of rules. As long as any modifications adhere to the original technical regulations, Ferrari is under no obligation to disclose their findings or their innovations to the governing body before the first race of the season. This gives them an invaluable window of opportunity, one that they fully intend to exploit. Until the SF25 hits the track in competitive conditions, no rival team will truly understand the extent of the advantage Ferrari has created. Their competitors will have no time to react, no ability to file protests, and no way to implement their own countermeasures before the season opener. By the time the rest of the grid realizes what Ferrari has done, it could already be too late. This level of secrecy and tactical maneuvering is nothing new in Formula One, but Ferrari is executing it with a level of precision that is almost surgical. The entire operation has been shrouded in an unprecedented level of confidentiality, with only a handful of individuals inside Maranello fully aware of the true scope of their advancements. Even within the Ferrari garage, there have been whispers, unverified rumors that suggest Hamilton has already been lapping significantly quicker than expected in private test sessions. While official times are carefully hidden from prying eyes, some insiders have hinted that Hamilton's initial runs in the SF25 have been nothing short of jaw-dropping. His ability to push the car to its absolute limit, combined with Ferrari's engineering brilliance, could create a perfect storm of dominance. Meanwhile, the reaction from other teams has been one of cautious concern. Red Bull, fresh off years of supremacy with Max Verstappen, has been unusually quiet about their preseason progress. Typically a team that thrives on psychological warfare, issuing bold statements about their confidence heading into the new season, they have instead chosen to focus inward. Could it be that they've already seen enough from Ferrari's limited on-track running to know they are in trouble? Mercedes, on the other hand, finds itself in a peculiar position. After years of being the benchmark in Formula One, they are now forced to watch as their former star driver prepares to take their biggest rival back to the top of the sport. Toto Wolff has publicly downplayed any concerns, insisting that Mercedes is focused solely on their own development, but behind closed doors, the anxiety is growing. Their new driver pairing is still finding its rhythm, and while George Russell has shown flashes of brilliance, the reality is that Mercedes is no longer the dominant force they once were. There's a sense of urgency within Brackley, an acknowledgement that if Ferrari truly has found an unbeatable formula, Mercedes could be looking at another year of playing catch-up rather than leading the charge. McLaren, having made significant strides in the latter half of last season, is also watching Ferrari's developments with a mixture of intrigue and unease. Lando Norris has expressed confidence in McLaren's progress, but even the most optimistic predictions acknowledge that if Ferrari's rumored pace is real, the fight at the front may become a one-team affair. And then there's Aston Martin, a team that has invested heavily in facilities, personnel and technology, yet still finds itself in the shadow of the big three. Fernando Alonso, always a master of mind games, has already hinted that Ferrari could be the team to beat. Some dismiss this as his usual political maneuvering, an attempt to shift pressure away from Aston Martin, but what if he's right? What if Ferrari is about to unleash something truly special? The stage is set for one of the most captivating season openers in recent memory. The anticipation, the tension, the unknowns, all of it is building towards a moment of reckoning in Melbourne. Will Ferrari's masterstroke pay off? Will Hamilton, in his first race in red, announce his arrival with an emphatic victory? Or will the other teams find a way to fight back before the season gets away from them? Formula One is no stranger to dominance, but what Ferrari is attempting to achieve isn't just about winning. It's about redefining the competitive landscape entirely. If their calculations are correct, if their simulations are accurate, and if Hamilton extracts the maximum from the SF25, we may be on the verge of witnessing a level of superiority that hasn't been seen in the modern era. The paddock is holding its breath. The countdown to Melbourne has begun. And as the world watches, Ferrari stands on the precipice of history, ready to deliver a statement that could shake Formula One to its very core. The paddock was a powder keg waiting to explode, and Ferrari was holding the match. Every team in Formula One had spent months preparing their cars, analyzing regulations, and chasing every last drop of performance they could squeeze from their machines. But behind the closed doors of Maranello, something different was happening. Something secret. Something dangerous. If Red Bull or Mercedes failed to detect the loophole before the season opener, Ferrari could execute their masterstroke before their rivals even knew what had hit them. The stakes couldn't be higher. The engineers working on the project knew that they were on the edge of something monumental. If their calculations were correct, if the FIA's wording in the technical regulations truly allowed for this exploit, the Scuderia was about to turn the entire sport on its head. Lewis Hamilton knew this, too. He sat at the long steel table inside Ferrari's high-security engineering headquarters, eyes locked on the array of monitors displaying the latest performance data. The air in the room was thick with tension, a kind of pressure that only existed in places where history was about to be made. Opposite him sat Jacques Clear, Ferrari's head of driver performance, who had worked with Schumacher, Villeneuve, and Hamilton himself over the years. If there was anyone who understood the implications of what they were about to attempt, it was him. Clear exhaled slowly, fingers tapping against the table as he presented the final simulations. Every line of telemetry told the same story. Every wind tunnel result confirmed it. Every metric pointed to one unavoidable truth. Lewis Hamilton was about to drive the fastest Ferrari Formula One car built in over a decade. Hamilton leaned back in his chair, eyes flicking over the numbers once more. It was a lot to process. He had spent years at Mercedes, winning championship after championship, fighting tooth and nail against Ferrari in a silver car that had always been just a step ahead. And yet, here he was, at the heart of the prancing horse's biggest engineering gamble in modern history. He took a deep breath, glanced at Jacques Clear, and let a slow, confident smile creep across his face. "If this works," he murmured, "they won't know what hit them." The room was silent for a beat. Then, without another word, the team moved. They knew what needed to be done. Every component that would be fitted to Hamilton's car for its final private test in Fiorano was already being prepped by a select group of mechanics. Men and women who had worked in Formula One long enough to understand that secrecy was just as important as speed. Every part had to be flawless. Every bolt, every millimeter of carbon fiber, every microscopic aerodynamic element had to be hidden from prying eyes. Ferrari could take no risks. The pit garage had been locked down, access restricted to only those with the highest clearance. No external cameras, no visitors, no unnecessary communication. Across the paddock, speculation ran wild. The whispers had already begun. Rumors of Ferrari testing something unprecedented. Hushed conversations in Mercedes' garage. Quiet but urgent meetings in Red Bull's motorhome. Christian Horner wasn't an idiot. He had seen enough regulation loopholes over the years to know that Ferrari wouldn't be sitting idly by while Red Bull dominated. He had witnessed firsthand how Adrian Newey had used every trick in the book to keep Red Bull ahead, and now for the first time in years, he could feel it. Ferrari had something. And they were hiding it well. At Mercedes, the mood was different. Toto Wolff, normally the pillar of calm authority, was noticeably restless. He had placed faith in the W15's development, convinced that the team had found their way back to the front after 2 years in the wilderness. But then came the chatter. The unconfirmed reports. Ferrari engineers staying late at night. A seemingly insignificant line in the FIA's technical documents that, upon closer inspection, might hold more significance than they had initially thought. And Hamilton? He wasn't saying a word. He had spent enough years in the sport to recognize when the psychological battle had already begun. He wasn't interested in fueling speculation. He didn't need to. Let them wonder. Let them worry. He had felt the car underneath him during the simulator sessions. He had seen the raw performance numbers. He knew exactly what Ferrari had built. And then, the final private test arrived. In the dead of night, long after the media had packed up and left, long after the journalists had stopped loitering around Fiorano's gates, Ferrari's core team was still working. Hamilton's car had been rolled onto the circuit, its gleaming red chassis reflecting under the dim glow of the pit lights. Mechanics swarmed over it, making last-minute checks, whispering in hushed tones. Engineers lined up along the pit wall, their eyes darting between monitors, reading live telemetry as the car idled. The test had to be perfect. There could be no sign of what they were doing, no obvious giveaway in the car's performance that could tip off a watching rival. The goal was simple: verify that the system worked under real conditions and gather the final data before locking everything down until Melbourne. Hamilton climbed into the cockpit, his movements deliberate. The visor of his helmet snapped shut. The radio crackled to life. "All systems are green," his race engineer confirmed. "Whenever you're ready." Hamilton's hands gripped the steering wheel, his fingers adjusting the multifunction controls as he prepared to unleash the car. Then, without hesitation, he pressed down on the throttle. The Ferrari howled as it shot out of the pit lane, its tires biting into the asphalt with an almost unnatural amount of grip. The telemetry screens in the garage flashed with data, and for a moment, even the most seasoned engineers at Ferrari held their breath. Sector 1. Fast. Sector 2. Faster. By the time Hamilton came tearing through the final corner, the numbers on the monitor spoke for themselves. The car wasn't just fast. It was revolutionary. As he crossed the line, Hamilton let out a small chuckle over the radio, his voice a mixture of exhilaration and absolute certainty. "I think we've got something here." The Ferrari pit wall erupted, not in open celebration, but in the kind of quiet, knowing excitement that only happens when a team realizes they've just created something special. The FIA wouldn't see it coming. Red Bull wouldn't see it coming. Mercedes wouldn't see it coming. Ferrari had just rewritten the script. And when the lights went out in Melbourne, the world was going to find out exactly what they had been hiding. Ferrari is playing a game of high-stakes poker, and the rest of the grid doesn't even realize they're already holding the winning hand. Deep inside Maranello, behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of rival teams and FIA inspectors, a revolution is brewing. The engineers, the strategists, the minds that have spent years studying every possible way to break Red Bull's stranglehold on the sport, have found something, a breakthrough so significant that it could redefine the competitive order of Formula One overnight. It's not just a simple aero tweak. It's not just a mechanical refinement. It's something far more profound, something buried deep within the regulations that no one else has spotted. Red Bull has dominated the technical side of Formula One for years, bending the rules just enough to exploit loopholes, pioneering innovations that others scramble to replicate. But now, for the first time since the hybrid era began, it's Ferrari that holds the ace. And once this innovation is revealed, Red Bull, Mercedes, and even the FIA itself will be left scrambling to react. While the other teams go about their usual testing routines, Ferrari is operating under a veil of secrecy. Their testing data is misleading on purpose. Their public-facing telemetry? Carefully curated. Every single lap Hamilton and Leclerc complete is feeding crucial information into Ferrari simulations, fine-tuning a concept that could make them untouchable once the lights go out in Melbourne. But what exactly is it? Rumors have begun swirling in the paddock. Some believe it's an aerodynamic breakthrough, a way to generate higher cornering speeds without sacrificing straight-line performance. Others whisper about an evolution of Ferrari's suspension, something that allows them to manipulate ride height dynamically, shifting aerodynamic loads in ways Red Bull can't match. But the most dangerous theory, the one that has teams on high alert, suggests that Ferrari has discovered a way to optimize battery deployment so efficiently that their hybrid power unit can deliver sustained peak performance without overheating. If this is true, it changes everything. Red Bull remains confident in their RB21. Adrian Newey has once again produced a car that, on paper, should dominate. Verstappen is at the peak of his powers, his aggression finely balanced with the precision of a driver who has turned winning into a science. But what Red Bull doesn't realize is that Ferrari is about to shift the balance of power in a way nobody expected. This isn't just about closing the gap, this is about obliterating it. The FIA has been caught off guard before. Remember the double diffuser? The F-duct? Mercedes' DAS system? Every now and then, a team discovers something so game-changing that the governing body has no choice but to step in. But here's the problem for Red Bull: by the time the FIA reacts, it might already be too late. The first race in Melbourne is fast approaching. Red Bull's engineers are working around the clock, dissecting every shred of Ferrari's on-track behavior, every piece of footage, every sector time, trying to uncover the secret. But what if they're looking in the wrong place? What if Ferrari's advantage isn't visible on the surface, but buried deep within the mechanical and electronic systems of the car? Hamilton has been here before. He knows what it feels like to sit in a car that is untouchable, that makes every lap feel effortless while the competition struggles to keep up. The thought of standing on the podium in Australia, watching Verstappen in second place, is the kind of motivation that has reignited the fire within him. This is the opportunity he's been waiting for, the chance to go toe-to-toe with Verstappen in equal machinery and prove that he's still the best driver in the world. And here's the most terrifying part for Red Bull: Ferrari isn't even showing their full hand yet. Their lap times in testing? Deliberately misleading. Their fuel loads? Unclear. The real pace of the SF25 is still unknown, even to those within the team. Every time Hamilton and Leclerc step into the car, they're not just driving, they're gathering intelligence, running simulations in real time, stress testing this new technology to ensure that when it matters most, Ferrari will be ready to unleash its full potential. But the question remains: will the FIA step in before the first race to shut this down? History tells us that when a team finds an advantage this big, the governing body acts fast. If Ferrari's innovation truly pushes the limits of legality, there's a chance the FIA could move to close the loophole before the season even begins. But can they react in time? And even if they do, will Ferrari have already gained enough of a head start to dominate the early races? Red Bull is running out of time. Verstappen is running out of time. If they don't uncover Ferrari's secret before Melbourne, they could find themselves in an unfamiliar position, chasing instead of leading. And for a team that has built its entire identity around dominance, that's a nightmare scenario. But what if Red Bull has an answer? What if, buried deep within the RB21, there's a countermeasure waiting to be unleashed? Could Newey have anticipated this and designed something just as radical? Or is Red Bull about to experience what Mercedes did in 2021? Watching their once unbreakable dominance start to crumble? One thing is certain: Formula One is standing on the edge of something monumental. This isn't just about another season. This is about a seismic shift in the balance of power. This is about the battle for supremacy between the two greatest drivers of this generation. This is about whether Ferrari has finally found the weapon it needs to reclaim its place at the top of the sport. And when the lights go out in Australia, we'll have our answer. So, what do you think? Will Ferrari get away with this breakthrough before the FIA steps in? Can Hamilton use this advantage to finally dethrone Verstappen? Or will Red Bull pull off the ultimate counterattack before it's too late? The countdown to Melbourne has begun. The tension is unbearable. The stakes have never been higher. And trust me, this is just the beginning.